Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thanks for joining me once again. Happy New Year. It's now 2023. We're going to go through some news, some highlights, some reviews, previews of what's happening in the boxing world. Let me start off with a quick little story coming at you out of CES Boxing and their camp, because they have a season opener coming up called Winter Brawl. It's scheduled for Saturday, December 21st at the Mohegan Sun Arena, and features a stacked lineup headlined by hard-hitting heavyweight, the Sicilian Nightmare, Juiseppe Cusumano, facing the Hungarian Hammer, Istvan Bernath, and they'll go toe-to-toe in a 10-round main event. And tickets are available, by the way, on cesfights.com, and I'm pretty sure we have them available on talkinfight.com as well. Fresh off his knockout win over Dennis Ventura 4 months ago at Mohegan, Cusumano, 21-4, 19 knockouts, returns to face the 6'4" Bernath, 10-1, 8 knockouts, a two-time silver medalist at the European Union Amateur Boxing Championships, and he was born in Budapest and now fights out of Miami. Should be a good one for sure. Their showdown is one of 11 fights at Winter Brawl, which also features the long-awaited return of Stamford, Connecticut light middleweight Chordell Booker in an 8-round showcase against 37-fight veteran Angel Hernandez, plus a highly anticipated 6-round interstate battle between Michael Valentin of Providence, Rhode Island, and the undefeated Kevin Walsh. He's 6-0 with 4 knockouts, by the way, fighting out of Brockton, Massachusetts. Also returning from a 13-month layoff, Worcester, Massachusetts featherweight Irvin Gonzalez steps back into the ring in an 8-round bout against dangerous Headley Scott. He's fighting out of Jonesboro, Georgia, by the way. And super featherweight Alejandro Polino, 11-0, one of the region's fastest rising prospect, put his undefeated record on the line in a 6-round bout against Rizuminian Ford. He's 8-3, by the way. Other featured fighters, John Gotti III out of Oyster Bay, New York. Alex Citrowski, he's out of St. Cloud, Minneapolis. Josnil Castro, 9-0. And Mitch Lewis Charles. Winter Brawl also marks the return of female welterweight Stevie Jane Coleman, who faces New Jersey's Michelle Noguez in a 4-round bout, and Worcester super middleweight Kendrick Ball Jr. in a 6-round bout against Argentinian and 22-fight vet Victor Hugo Exner. In preliminary action, by the way, you've got Brockton heavyweight Chad Leoncello, fresh off his first career victory in November, and he faces Boston's Wallace Nas Silva in a 4-round bout. And MMA standout Mike Kimbaloff, Watertown, Connecticut, makes his professional debut against Robert Banks out of Monroeville, New York, also a 4-round bout. So good news from CES Boxing, and we look forward to seeing those results in a few weeks' time. Elsewhere, happening this month, heavy-handed Mexican lightweight Jesus Saracho is looking to shock the world as he steps up against Brooklyn's Cesar Francis. That's a Pro Box TV event held at the White Sands Event Center in Tampa, Florida. The clash of the two lightweight trending in the right direction will set the tone for yet another exciting year for Pro Box TV, which looks to have a banner year in 2023, putting on competitive bouts and now debuting their cards on a Wednesday night. Saracho, who's been in fine form of late, discussed his opportunity against world-rated Francis on January 25th. He said, "I'm very motivated for this fight. This is my big opportunity. I thank Pro Box for allowing me to showcase my skills in their main event against Francis. I'm coming to win. I understand it's a big platform. I'm going to make a statement against Cesar Francis. He's highly regarded and ranked, and he wants a win against me. A major fight in the future with title implications. I understand that. I understand many people say Cesar Francis could be the prospect of the year. So I'm looking to derail his career and the hype." And there you go. Elsewhere, moving on to a quick little recap of their fantastic year. Boxer let us know. Let's take a look at what happened first. In the beginning of the year, if you might recall, we had a huge grudge match, a big fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams. That was held at the Motor Point Arena back on February 5th, where Eubank Jr. scored 4 knockdowns on his way to unanimous points decision in front of a raucous crowd. Significantly, however, the event drew over 1 million viewers in the UK and Ireland. outperforming a decade-old feat as it delivered an in-home viewing record on Sky. Also that month, the undisputed world title fight between Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, which we all remember, at sold-out OVO Hydro in Glasgow, ended in a controversial points win for Taylor, and it drew almost 1 million live viewers on that night in the UK. But the history makers of last year, in October, the first ever all-female event in the UK was held at the O2 in front of a sold-out crowd in London, just weeks after it was postponed, by the way, in September due to the passing of the late Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall became the first female fighters to headline at the iconic venue in the capital, with the American victorious on points, and she was crowned the undisputed the undisputed world champion, along with the honorary WBC Elizabethan belt. Certainly, it was one of the most anticipated women's fights of all time, and many in the sport hailing it as the event of the year. And by the way, the chief supporter of that event, if you all recall, was an electrifying clash between Alicia Baumgartner, who defeated Michaela Mayer for the Unified World Championship, with the pair's bitter rivalry ranked as one of the best of the year. Yes, certainly an understatement. And that event drew over 2 million viewers in the UK and Ireland on the night and became the most watched female boxing event in history. So good news for the women, good news for Boxer, good news for boxing in general. But it doesn't end there, says Boxer. It's been a year of unparalleled growth with an ever-growing roster of world champions, Olympians, and elite fighters, and Boxer delivered more UK shows than any other promoter. And this saw Ben Shalom's promotion travel the length and breadth of the country, selling out arena is in London, Manchester, Glasgow, Cardiff, Liverpool, Newcastle, Coventry, and Bournemouth, including their blockbuster, as mentioned, pay-per-views, World Championship fight nights, and unique Boxer Series tournaments. Indeed, indeed. Quick little note here. Y'all might remember the Amir Khan and Kell Brook decade-long rivalry is finally settled back in Manchester in Boxer's first pay-per-view show on Sky Sports since signing a 4-year deal with the broadcaster back in June of 2021. The Khan versus Brook campaign and event gripped the nation, exceeding 500,000 pay-per-view buys and becoming the most watched non-heavyweight pay-per-view since Carl Froch managed to beat George Groves in 2014. And tickets for the event sold out in just 10 minutes, by the way. Holy moly. Speaking of their champions, Natasha Jonas was celebrated, who was just featured, by the way, by Holly Donovan on her show here on Talkin Fight. Natasha was celebrated by many boxing circles as Fighter of the Year, and deservedly so. Miss Team GB started the year in style as she landed the WBO world title from Chris Namus back in February. Then the Merseyside fighter ranked in the top 10 as pound for pound, capped an incredible 12 months when she captured the IBF and Ring Magazine world titles with her dominating points victory over Canada's Marie-Eve Decaire back in November at Manchester's AO Arena, just 2 months after she defeated Patricia Burkholt for the WBC crown in her home city of Liverpool. And 2022 marked a memorable time for the likes of Super Dan Aziz, who added the Commonwealth crown to his British title when he closed the year with a brilliant stoppage win in Bournemouth over Rocky Fielding. So good stuff out of Boxer. We look forward to hearing more from Ben Shalom in the upcoming months and following year. Also, however, this past year saw the rise of a U.S. independent, certainly one that we've heard of a lot and talked about a lot here in Talkin Fight. And this is courtesy of Iraq War veteran Chris Chayedi. He founded Granite Chin Promotions as a platform simply for him to continue his professional boxing career, not as a future business he now runs as one of the top under 40 promoters in the industry. A lot of you will hear me talk about Granite Chin and their fights. Let's have a quick little read here about what Chris himself has to say. He retired as a fighter, by the way, back in 2021 with a 30-4 record. Incredibly respectable 24 knockout pro record, and including the New England Cruiserweight belt. And he found a niche as a club show promoter and providing quality fighter for major events across the U.S., without a doubt. He said, after I lost to Eddie Caminero in 2010, I was in denial, thinking everybody was out to get me. I blamed everyone for my situation. Without a clue, I decided to promote my own shows to keep going. I put together a patchwork team. I lost to Edwin Rodriguez in 2011, and I didn't want to be an opponent. None of the promoters wanted to work with me, he says. I was my own worst enemy. I disappeared. I then decided to get serious and get back into the gym with my trainer, Jimmy Farrell. No promoters, however, would work with me, so I started doing my own shows to keep my career on life support. In 2015, I was contacted by matchmaker Eric Butcher, who was working with Rock Nation. He needed to put fighters on a local show. I had bigger names on my shows, and I started to make some money. I thought I could do it as a fighter and a promoter, but got serious as a promoter. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Granite Chin arguably promoted as many shows as any promoter in the country, creating a way to promote shows, presenting doubleheader, 22 total fights that drew 700 fans during the day, 1,100 at night. Wow, it was a combination accomplishment. Not only did Triadi promote shows to build his fighters, other promoters and managers paid him to place their fighters on Granite Chin cards. Word rapidly spread with the boxing community, and the Granite Chin brand reached another level as Triadi gained more respect as a promoter and invaluable matchmaker. He's quite honest. He said, we didn't have the best of fights. I wasn't doing my fighters justice at the beginning. It was hurting our brand. I really needed my guys to fight tougher opponents. I have fighters like Antonio Todd and Tyrone Lucky who will fight anybody anytime. Other guys really stepped up this year. But my goal is for my guys to make as much money as possible and then leave boxing with all the facilities and no damage. Everybody on our roster has a place because this is a team. Everyone has a special shot at the roster and plays roles in Granite Chin's growth. I sincerely mean that every fighter on my roster plays a critical role for the business, and I have a profound amount of respect for all my fighters. They make all of this possible. So, good for Chris Triadi, good for Granite Chin. We look forward to hearing more from him this year as well. But it doesn't end there. Star Boxing wants us to have a look at their year as well. 2022 commenced with the return of light heavyweight world champion, the common man, Joe Smith Jr., who defended his WBO world championship by a 9th-round technical knockout domination against Steve Grafford at Turning Stone in January on ESPN. Originally, Smith was scheduled to fight heavy-handed foe Callum Johnson for his WBO title defense, but the fight was scrapped after Johnson tested positive for COVID. And then in June, Smith courageously put his WBO World Championship belt on the line against unified world champion Artur Beterbiev in a light heavyweight unification bout, WBO, WBC, and IBF at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, also on ESPN. And for the moment the fight was announced, boxing media and fans alike were clamoring over what would be the biggest fights of 2022, knowing the fighter who landed first would likely receive the glory. While it would not be Joe Smith's night, he was applauded for his willingness and desire to be great, taking the biggest and best fights out there, something boxing desperately needs more of. Smith remains a top 5 world ranked contender and will be back in 2023 looking to get his championship back. Without a doubt, other boxers mentioned by Star Boxing, the pride of East Hartford, Connecticut, Richie Popeye the Sailor Man Rivera. He burst onto the global boxing scene in 2022 with a preposterous and controversial split decision loss to top number 1 world-rated cruiserweight Badou Jack, and that took place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia this past August. In a bout where most did not give Rivera a chance, Rivera dictated the action for most of the fight and was on his way to a surprising victory. The 8th round included an inexplicable addition, 58 seconds, so a 3-minute 58 illegal round, which changed the course of the fight. Social media was in an uproar about the fight. Rivera was rightly upset, handled the situation graciously though, while Star Boxing Hall of Fame promoter Joe DeGuardia lobbied for a rematch. Badou Jack seemingly will have no part of it, happy to have gotten away with a controversial decision. Rivera, in the meantime, returned to action in December in Puerto Rico, earning a 2nd-round technical knockout over Ariel Vasconcel on ProBox TV. Rivera finished the year with a record of 22-1 with 17 knockouts and will look to continue his momentum into 2023, the year of Popeye. Other fighters promoted by Star boxing. Let's have a look here. Michael Lone Wolf Magnus. He fought on the undercard of the Joyce Parker fight, and he'll go up against Anthony Kakasi in Manchester on BT Sport. I believe that fight took place, though. Heavyweight Carlos Takam continues his fearless march into enemy territory and nearly caused a massive upset in 2022 over the Lion Arslanbek Makhmudov in Makhmudov's hometown of Montreal, Canada. Yeah, everybody remembers that fight. Makhmudov, who entered the fight with a perfect 100% knockout ratio, was truly tested by Takam over their 10-round NABA, WBC silver, and NABF heavyweight title main event. After the first knockdown, Takam settled in and had the Montreal hometown crowd uneasy for the remaining 9 rounds. A pivotal 8th round would make the difference in the fight, however. Takam, who had taken the momentum in the fight and seemed to be on his way to a massive upset win, went for the knockout and missed a wide looping punch, causing him to be off balance, and saw him tagged by Makhmudov grazing right hand that sent the unbalanced Takam to the canvas. And as a result, Makhmudov was able to get the nod by unanimous decision in a very close fight. Takam is currently rated number 22 by WBC, and Star Boxing is working on his next bout. Good stuff. You might recall also Star Boxing put on Rockin' Fights, a series that was held at the Paramount, and they had 3 cards in 2022. One back in March, featuring Ole, the Ukrainian Putbal Dunvan, and another one, when was this? In June. Rockin' Fights 42 super middleweight Lucas Debro Mertens of Brazil defeated Star Boxing stablemate Irishman Tony Brown by unanimous decision. And in October, an injury-riddled upset in October saw Joel Shotgun Shojin knock down and defeat Lubomir Demolition Man Pinchuk. Gotta love these nicknames. Anyway, that was an ABO Cruiserweight Championship main event, and Pinchuk was unable to continue due to knee injury on a completely sold-out 5-fight card. Star Boxing also planted its promotional flag at new venues in 2022, including Rivers Casino up in Schenectady, New York, Karnasaka Arena at St. John's University in Queens, New York, and Mulcahy's Pub and Concert Hall. That's in Wantagh, New York, back in November. So there you go. A lot of action coming your way, courtesy a couple of independent Star Boxing and Granite Chin, not to mention the continued success of boxer promotions out of the UK. Speaking of UK, World Youth Champion Moses Atoma signs with Queensbury. So Frank Warren's added a new piece of talent to his roster. Frank Warren is delighted to announce the signing World Youth and European Heavyweight Did I say heavyweight? Wow. Heavyweight champion Moses Atoma to a long-term promotional agreement. The highly rated Chatham-based heavy turned 18 on Thursday, that'd be last week, and joins his older brother, Olympic youth champion Carl, in the Queensbury ranks and fighting on BT Sport. Good stuff out of Queensbury. We look forward to hearing more from them. To end up today's episode, I have a couple of quick quotes here from Jaron Boots Ennis. He's, as you know, undefeated in the welterweight division. He's preparing to take on IBF No.4-rated Karen Chukhadzhian for the interim IBF welterweight title in a co-main event of Showtime pay-per-view that's taking place, I believe, this Saturday night, headlining from Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., presented by Premier Boxing Champions. This bout is part of a pay-per-view telecast beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, headlined by undefeated 5-time world champion and boxing superstar Bad Boy Gervonta Tank Davis, taking on unbeaten world champion Hector Luis Garcia for Davis's WBA lightweight title. Be interesting if Gervonta has any repercussions due to his trouble with the law recently, but we'll see about that. The Ennis versus Chukhadzhian bout is promoted in association with D&D Boxing. Let's hear what Jaron Boots Ennis has to say. I haven't watched any footage of my opponent, but my team has been watching him. We have a game plan for what he does well. I'm definitely excited to have my people come out from Philly and from DC for the fight. It's only a couple hours away, so you'll definitely hear Philly in the building. It doesn't matter where we're fighting at. I just train just as hard. We prepare for every single fight like it's a world title fight. I've just been watching a lot of Mike Tyson myself. He puts a lot of punches together, triples, doubles, same hands, lots of knockouts. He doesn't see too many late rounds. I've been watching him a lot this camp. Well, if you're going to learn from the best. And there you have it, boxing fans. All the news fit to print for today. Thank you for joining me once again. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And we'll see you later on at 4 p.m. for Knuckle Up with Mike Orr and Cedric Ben. Thank you.